Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen, other pairs will be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be doing a bonus pair, so make sure you do stay to the end to find out which pair that is. But guys, if you are enjoying the content, leave a like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all that good stuff does really help the channel out and keeps you in the loop so you don't miss out on any uploads in the future, guys. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first up, we've got Euro USD. So for this pair this week, I was looking for a move to the upside for a pullback. This pair's been extremely bearish. I'm looking to see kind of a bit of a pullback, bit of a relief back into this level here. Some strong daily support, which we broke through. Now we've got the retest. I'm seeing if we can come back up into that level around 1.03500. But as you can see, the market was just far too bearish and it continued to the downside this week. We have gone to hit that big psychological level at 1.000. €1 equals $1 at that price there. So very, very significant psychological level, which you can see the market is actually stalling at. This is the 4H time frame. You can see that is our psychological level running through the market there. And we've got rejection, false break to the downside, big push to the upside back above. So there might be some nice buys for Euro USD. Again, very, very aggressive buys. But if we do start to hold this coming into next week, I do think we can see some life coming back into the market. Not necessarily the bigger pullback that I'm looking for all the way back up to that daily zone. That could happen, but I don't see that happening in 1 week, potentially over a few if you do retrace. But I do see some upside for Euro USD, but after that, we could definitely come straight back down. Reason being, higher time frames are still bearish, monthly, weekly, daily, all still bearish. So if we do see some life come back into Euro USD, don't get too excited because we could come straight back down. We need to see some significant change first before we actually think, okay, Euro USD could actually be reversing. If we climb it back above this daily level here, then yeah, that's something significant that we could actually be reversing from. But as of right now, Euro USD looking at some upside. Again, if you're looking to take advantage of that exhaustion slash retracement slash reversal, and then you can look for some buys here at that big cycle level and this level of support in the 4H, back up into around 1.0200. Then from here, if we can reject that area, I'll expect the market to come straight back down from the next lower high, from this high all the way up there, from the next one somewhere. And again, looking at the market selling off to the downside. So for Euro USD, everything's still looking bearish, but I'm expecting to see some upside. We're holding on to that big psychological level. So looking for buys back up to 1.02. And then if we can hold that, I do expect us to come right back down to lows for next week for Euro USD. Okay, so next up we've got USD JPY. So as you can see for this pair, still flying to the upside. That monthly level of resistance around 135 is currently not holding. As you can see, the market is still trading above that level. So we could still see some downside from here, but we do need to get back below that level. The next kind of major resistance stroke level we have is actually the all-time highs around 144. Well, this zone here is the all-time highs, but that's the level I'm focusing on for USD-JPY. So around 145, we'll call it, is the next major level if price maintains that bullish momentum. But as of right now, jumping onto the low time frame, since we are still trading above that area, 135, and obviously we did not break through that trend line, so there was no valid sells anyway, price could still climb higher. So we do have this level of resistance here. Price is broken through, retested there, and saw some nice upside. And as long as we can respect this area slash respect that trend line, price could easily see another move higher back to the upside. If you come crashing back down past those areas, back underneath 135, then that's when the reversal could be on the cards. But as of right now, everything is still pointing to the upside for USD-JPY. Higher time frames still displaying a lot of bullish momentum, and we're still above these structural levels. So if you're looking to trade USD-JPY next week, I'll be focusing on this kind of area here, around 136,750 to around 136,500. Nice confidence meeting in that area. If we can come back down, respect that price swing low, could see some nice buys back to the upside again. And for targets, I'll simply just look at these highs here on the left, because there's nothing really to aim out past that. Reason being, on the left, If we go back to the weekly, there's nothing really here until, you know, up all the way there, and I doubt you probably want to hold your trade on for that long. So just look for the prior highs up there as targets. Maybe use the psychological levels if you want to push the trade further. But yeah, use JPY if you can bounce at 136,500, expecting price to push right back to highs next week. Okay, so now up next we've got USD CAD. So USD CAD this week, big move to the upside there on Thursday, as you can see. It was a bit short-lived though. Friday did come back and actually closed back underneath this level of resistance here, which is quite important. But USD CAD, the way things are shaping up, it does look like there is more upside for USD CAD. Going into the weekly time frame, my main area of interest, I know we are seeing some rejection up here in a big wick on this week's candle, but the main area of interest for me for USD CAD is this level of resistance here. A lot of wicks placed into this area, a lot of rejection, a lot of downside, and the market closed above a few weeks ago, traded back below. It looks like it's just had a retest, and now it's closing back above that zone. So for me, as long as it stays above that, USD CAD is likely to use this big level as resistance, now as support, and we could probably even have another explosion to the upside, filling that wick and potentially coming to some of these areas up here. If USD CAD can get back underneath this level, then yeah, the sells are very much on. Obviously this is a bit more long-term analysis, but if we can get back underneath that level, then the sells are very much on. But if we don't, 1.29, very critical level of resistance. Now we turn support, and I do believe that could give us a move higher. So going to the low time frames, daily 4H and main daily in 4H. My main kind of focus for USD CAD is to see what we do with this level here, because from a short-term intra-week perspective, we could see some nice sells creep up if we can reject this level here and see a sell back down into this support. But at the same time, if we reject that, looking for another move to the upside. If we can break above that level again, looking for a move, you know, right back to the highs there for USD CAD. So for this pair, all in all, I'm bullish, but there will be some nice sells if you can reject that level there, because this is obviously our resistance there a few times. If you can reject that there, maybe a double top or something like that, could provide some nice sells to start the week off, followed by some buys later on, coming back to this support here on the left at around 1.29390. If we can hold that level as support, we'll look for some longs from this area, stops below, and then again, if you can get that breakout, even better. We'll look for some longs on the break and retest of 1.30700, and then targets back at the highs there. So quite a few opportunities could be coming around here for USD CAD. My main kind of move bias, if you will, is to the upside, but you know, if I do get some good sells there, I probably still will look to take them. But yeah, targets for me, USD CAD's back up there for next week.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you're finding it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
And now we'll take a look at Euro Pound. So Euro Pound this week, not much for this one, as you can see, mainly consolidation, but we are starting to see some strength coming back into the market there on Friday. So Euro Pound coming into the week, we were always looking for that move to the upside for this one, coming into this level of support. I do think there is still more upside for Euro Pound coming into these areas up here before we might sell off, unless we break above, of course. But I'm still looking at some more upside for Euro Pound, as long as we can stay above that support, break through that, then yeah, I do think the floodgates can open and we could be trading back down at this major level of support here at 0.83. So do keep that in mind if this support does fail next week. But for now, expecting more upside back into 0.856. So looking to see if we can get a nice pullback either into the consolidation, which is, well, the higher the consolidation, I mean, which is at around 0.84750. So you can see up, down, a lot of fluctuation. Broken above that, get the retest, see some upside. So if I just kind of focus that on the highs instead, then we can see some nice upside come from that level. Or if we have a deeper retracement back into the daily level, again, as long as we can stay above it, I'm expecting a push back up into this area here around 0.85600. So for me, for Euro Pound, seeing more upside, If we can respect those highs up there, then we can see some nice sells come into play as well, or get a break and retest of this daily support here at 0.84400. So there could be some nice sells there, but for me, I'm expecting this level to hold. So if we do get some shorts, it most likely will be up here, and again, same targets right back down to the lows. So for euro pound next week, looking at some more upside back up into 0.85600, and if you can hold that, expecting price return right back down to those lows. Okay, so now on to AUD USD. So for this pair, still more downside this week. I was looking for a deeper pullback into some of these areas here to sell it back down for AUD USD, but all we did was really just respect this level, or this trend line here, and this level here. That prior swing low on the left was support there as well briefly, was resistance, and price just plummeted pretty much as the market opened. I'm pretty sure we were trading around here and the market just dumped to the downside, so that level just held wonderfully well and crashed back down. So AU, I still do think that bigger pullback is due, especially with all this very corrective price action. I do think we are due a deeper pullback, but again, we do need to get above this trend line and above that price swing low to use that as support for that bigger move to the upside. If not, we could come up, respect the trend line which we're coming into now and drop, or respect that resistance there again and drop to the downside. AU is still definitely a bearish market there, so the buys, we do have to wait for some structure to break and some key levels to break as well before we do look for any longs. And targets will be at the top of the trend line, which is 0.69800. So for me, for AUD, I do think there's more sells in the market. If we don't get above that level, then I do think we can see some upside. Retest 0.68600 and buys back up into those highs up there. If not, could see the market sell off again if we don't get above, back to the downside, and we could easily see the market sell off a little bit sooner rather than later, like the start of this week. If we hold this double top area with that trend line confluence, if we can hold that, we could see another move right back down to lows, which is around 0.67, nice psychological level to aim for. So yeah, AUSD still bearish, got some nice short opportunities lined up there, but if we can break through those areas, the buys will be looking good, and that's pretty much the only time I'll look to buy or go long on AUSD is if we can get above those areas. Then buys from 0.68500 to 0.69700 up there. And now I'm going to move on to NZD CAD. So for this pair, not much again this week. As you can see, pretty much just consolidation is continuing with this pair. But my analysis from last week pretty much still stands. Key level of resistance here was our price swing low there on the left. If this continues to hold, the market is likely to fall still. We got swing lows down here. That would be a great target to have if the sells do come around on Monday. But if we can break above that, then we can see a bit of retracement, because the market is, kind of moving in this kind of wave pattern here. As you can see, we've got some lower highs up there collected and some lower lows here. The market is kind of in this wave / descending channel. So if we can break above that, we can see the next kind of bullish leg to the upside, where again, we can roll over unless we completely have that breakout. But yeah, this is the critical level where NZD CAD could go bearish again and see a nice move to the downside. Or if we can break above this, there could be a bit of life for NZD CAD and a move into this resistance here, 0.81500. So going to the 4H, you can see market is still respecting it. So coming on to Monday, if we throw some more wicks into that level again, most likely we'll see the market roll over. And in that case, we can look for some nice sells to the downside and targets back at the lows there. Or you can aim for the low of the wick if you want to as well, depending on how far you want to push the trade. But I do recommend just keeping to that support. If we can break above, the retest looks really good as well. You can see the market has really been paying attention to this level. So if you can get a break and retest, more likely than not, you'll probably see the next bullish leg come from this level. And you got some nice targets there to aim for using the daily chart around 0.81500. So that's the plan for next week. Eyes on 0.80400 to see what we do. Break above, we'll look for the buys. If we hold, then look for the sells. But yeah, that's my analysis and buys going into next week for NZD CAD. And now we've got pound NZD up next. So for this pair, again, still very messy. As you can see, just a big old range here. But I still am bearish on this one. I do still think we are coming back down to these lows here, around the 1.889 level. How long it will take, I have no idea. We could fluctuate again for numerous weeks before we break out, or we could just break out now. It's really up to the market. But you can see on the weekly time frame, the market's had so many attempts to try and go bullish, keeps failing each time. So it's really showing to us that the sellers are holding this market. This potentially could be our next lower high in reference to the big eye up there, and we could see another drive to the downside. So I'm favoring the market to head lower. We do have some key support down here, which I think the market is most likely headed towards, unless we do see some upside, probably just pull back and then continue bearish. But that's the target kind of 1, and this is kind of target 2 for pound NZD on the daily chart. So yeah, if we do have a pullback to the upside, most likely form the next kind of lower high, if you will, because the market is in a very ugly range. So kind of difficult to see lower highs and higher lows in this. But if this trend line holds, do expect to see a pullback and then a continuation, and then if you can break through that, continuation to 1.89. In fact, if we can get a break of the daily level of support, taking a retest on that, a break and retest trade on that, does make a lot of sense, because that way you're kind of missing out all that noise, and then you can take a hopefully fairly clean move to the downside into 1.89 there. So yeah, for me, pound NZD expecting more downside. We do see another pullback into the trend line, stroke that broken level of support and resistance. That could be a nice place to sell there, probably on the lower time frames, and target 1 there, and target 2, which is at 1.91, target 2, 1.89. If we do get the break and retest, that's all a worthwhile trade to look into. And again, 1.89 will be targets for that one. So pound NZD for me, more downside for this one. Okay, so next up we've got CAD JPY. So for this pair, I was looking for the market to roll over this week. However, we broke to the upside. The levels that I was looking at did not hold, which was this trend line here connecting those lower highs there. So first one, second one, was looking for the third lower high. Did see a nice reaction, but the market formed a higher low and continued bullish. And as you can see, taking out those highs there to the upside. So for me, it looks like CAD Yen, most likely we're going to take up these highs first before they do see any type of bigger bearish correction. Most likely we're going to take up these highs at 107.213. The market is still trading in the higher time frame areas on the monthly time frame, but for the meantime, as in for next week, it does look like we'll probably see the market wick through these highs at least, then maybe correct itself. If not, we could actually explode and head up a lot higher. So CAD JPY for me for next week, still bullish as long as we can stay above some of these lows, which I'll highlight in a second. But targets for next week will be these highs here at 107.208. So if we can have a pullback into any one of these lows here, even the low that the market just formed, that would be a great place to look to go long, look for that next higher low and then drive to the upside. And from 107 potentially could be some sells, but that will be quite aggressive at those highs. So I'll probably wait for price action to develop a little bit first before entertaining any sells up there for CAD Yen. So for this one, expecting more upside, looks like 107.208. We'll probably take out those highs and see some new highs. Hopefully you can get a pullback. If not, the market could just fly to the upside and hit the target straight away. If you do see some downside though, most likely we'll just be forming some higher lows, so we can get into some nice buys. So yeah, hoping to see a pullback. 105.623, we'll be looking at some longs from that level, or 104.750, looking for some longs from there, and targets back at the highs for next week for this one. And now we're going to move on to pound USD. So for this pair, more downside this week. As you can see, we broke through our price swing low here on the left, big move to the upside. Price broke through that, retested, and is still looking quite bearish. The market is showing some signs of exhaustion, very choppy, as you can see on the daily time frame. If we're going to 4H, very choppy, as you can see. So we could be seeing a deeper pullback happen, but I do want to see the market get back above this price swing low here at 1.2, big psychological level there as well. So as long as we reject that, maintain this level as resistance, we most likely will roll over again and take out these lows and see some new lows. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if the market does go and take out our COVID lows here, all-time lows actually at 1.14. I won't be surprised if that happens. So there still is a lot of room to the downside if we are going to take up those lows. So don't write off, you know, the market's still maintaining that bearish momentum. So for next week for pound USD, my main focus is that prior swing low at around 1.195 to 1.2, kind of a bit of a zone there. If you respect this again, expecting the market to roll over again, targets will be the price swing low here at 1.17599. And then again, we could probably choose the psychological levels, because I doubt we'll target, you know, all the way down there at 1.14 in one move. So, you know, targets, looking at the price swing low, if you want to push it further, probably use the psych levels. 1.17 is probably the next logical target for price to get to. But if you do see that correction, get above this area, could see a bit of life coming back into the market. Then we've got our prior swing low, which is, you know, our two swing lows ago, not that one, but this one here gave us that last lower high up there. I do think we can see a nice move back into that level at 1.215. So the buys do look good as well if we can get back above 1.2 for next week. So for me, for pound USD, everything is still looking bearish, but if we do get above this level, things will start looking a little bit better for pound. If not, I mean, respect this level here again, form another lower high, most likely will roll over and targets back at those lows there at 1.17599 for next week. Okay, so now on to pound CAD. So pound CAD this week, more downside. Price broke through this level of support. I was looking to see if the market could have a bit of a bounce this week, but we broke through pretty swiftly there on Monday. As you can see, their strong close underneath that level didn't really give much evidence on Monday that we were actually holding the level. Price broke through, and as you can see, currently holding that as resistance. So pound CAD is still trading a higher time frame level of support where we could potentially see some upside from on a higher time frame perspective, because as you can see, last time we traded here, we consolidated, had a huge breakout to the upside, and now we've got a very strong move back down to that area. So I'm expecting the market to eventually see some upside, but as things stands now, going on to the daily, everything is still looking quite bearish. So not going to be looking for some buys unless we can get back above 1.55, which is that daily swing low there. So pound CAD for me, more downside as long as we can sustain that level of resistance. Targets will be the lows here at 1.53605. Again, probably could push it a little bit further, maybe 1.53, but because we are in that monthly zone there, I wouldn't look to hang on to sells for too long, but it looks good for a move back down to those lows and potentially some new lows as well. So if you can get another retest of that level, can look for some entries around that area of 1.55 and targets back down at those lows at 1.53614. However, if we can get back above that area, snap through this trend line, which has been forming quite well there, we can look for some longs on the retest of that 1.55 level, and then we can push this trade potentially back to 1.58. You know, retest this broken support that never got that retest. Again, bit of aggressive target. You can look for some targets here on the left as well at these lower highs. You don't have to necessarily look for 1.58, but if you do have that reaction from the monthly level, then I would expect to see some real momentum come back into the market, and 1.58 looks to get retested again. So pound CAD for me, as long as we stay below that trend line and below that support time resistance at 1.55, expecting more downside into those lows there. If we can get back above, retest it, look for some higher lows, then I'm looking at a retest and a push to 1.58 for next week. Okay, so up next, pound yen. So for this pair this week, I was looking for some more downside back into this key level here around the 160 area. Didn't quite make it. We came so close last time, so I was looking for the market to come and retest that before see some upside. But as you can see, 162 here held firm. A bunch of wicks into this area. The market really rejected this level. As you can see, it's snapping to the upside on the 4H time frame. I said to you guys, as long as we can hold this trend line, maintain those lower highs, I would expect us to roll over. As you can see, we did break out of that this week. So pound yen for me, the next immediate move most likely will be to the upside, as long as we can hold 162, and I'm looking at a push back to these highs up here. And if we can hold this, I do think we can come back down. As you can see, 1, 2, 3 rejections off this zone. The market tried to move higher but failed to do so. So if you do see another move back up to that area and some more rejection, we most likely will come back down. May not revisit 162, but probably catch some nice sales from that area there. So for me, coming into next week, as long as we stay above, let me get rid of that squiggly line. So as long as we stay above 162 level of support, could come back and retest that trend line there actually. But as long as we stay above 162, I'm bullish on pound JPY back up to those highs at 168. We'll see what type of price action we can get up there. If it's looking good, I do think some sales do look good. Do have kind of support resistance running through this area, or running through this area here. As you can see, support there, resistance once again there. So that could be a nice first target to have at 165, and then second target 162 if we can break through that. But as for the immediate price action, I'm expecting pound yen back up to 168 for next week. And up next, we've got gold. So gold still very bearish this week. We were looking for moving to 1700. As you can see, we just about tapped into that, which was our key weekly level of support all the way down here. Really some aggressive wicks down into this area. 1, 2, 3, 4 aggressive wicks. Each time we're coming into that, we're seeing some strong reversals from that. So we're looking for gold to bounce from this area. Not necessarily for a complete reversal. That could happen, but the market is still very bearish. We do have to respect what the market is doing currently, but I do think a bit of exhaustion, a bit of life can come back into gold. There's a key level running through the market here, as you can see on the weekly time frame. Really strong support, big moves to the upside, and I do think we can come back and retest that around the 1765, 1770 area. Does look good for a move back into, but we'll take it in stages. So jumping down to the 4H time frame, you can see things are still looking quite bearish. This will be the first target. We could come up into that level and come straight back down again. So that'll be the first target. Got the weekly just up there at 1765, 1770. But if we can start to see some higher lows printed from this area, can look for buy, push into 1740, 1745, and then potentially 1765 if we're lucky as well. But from this 1700 area, only looking for long opportunities. I do not want to be selling to this level. If we do see some retracement and the market starts to reject one of these areas, then that'll be some really good sells to take advantage of if you're still bearish on gold or think it will go lower. But from 1700, this zone here, you don't really want to be looking to sell the market at those prices. Want to see a pullback, next lower high, potentially 1745 or 1765, 1770 up there, and then you can sell the market back down. But from the 1700 area, looking for buys. First target 1745 and second target 1765 for next week. And now I'm going to take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin still in this consolidation. We are seeing a move to the upside currently because we are rebounding the lows of the consolidation at 19k, which is a big psychological level, and obviously lines up with our prior swing high over here on the left back in 2017. Market is still bouncing from that area. So I do think pound yen, I do think Bitcoin is most likely going to see a move to the upside now. We're throwing a lot of wicks down to this into this area. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into this area. The market is stalling here, and if we do break to the if we do break out, most likely will be to the upside. Since the market has been quite bearish, we're taking our key level here, and I do think we can have a bit of retracement. Again, not too sure how far this could go. There's obviously a key area here that I'm personally looking at around 30k. We could go higher than that, retest this area up here since we broke through and I've already got the retest of that level. So we could see 34, 35k, maybe even higher than that as well, up to some of those areas, depending how bullish we can be. But Bitcoin is in need of some retracement, and this looks likely that we could see some upside off the back of this. So to be safe, you can wait for the breakout to happen. Hopefully there's a retest. I mean, Bitcoin doesn't always have its retest, as you can see of late, but if you do get a retest, that'd be a great place to buy around the 22k mark, and a push into 29k. We broke through that and never got the retest. That'll be a good target to have. Also, you can look to target this wick here as well. That was some support that price got rejected by. Or you can look to buy at the lows of the range. Obviously maximize your risk reward, but obviously just slightly riskier because price can still break to the downside. Breaking to the upside is definitely not guaranteed at all. So for me, Bitcoin, I'm expecting price to see some upside, obviously consolidating now, so unclear which way we're going to break out from. I'm expecting price to break to the upside. If we do, you can wait for that retest to go long, or if we do come back down, revisit 19k, you can look for some longs there and take advantage of potentially that next swing to the upside. But for me, next move for Bitcoin, 29k to retest that consolidation we've got going up over there. And last but not least, over to the commodities for our bonus pair, we've got US oil. So for US oil, I've been watching this one lately. I do think we're getting ready for a big move to the downside for this one. We're back at some key levels, which we're not breaking through, as you can see, at 110. So I'm looking at price returning back to this broken resistance here at 75, potentially even further, but we're looking for 75 here to retest that level. So I can see a lot more downside happening for this one, but we are trading at some key support, which obviously we do not want to be selling into. So obviously break and retest is on the cards there. Break and retest 94, sells back down, obviously probably not in one go there. There's this high over here we can look to target. There's multiple wicks here on the left we can look to target. Doesn't have to be one move, but that's just like our overall goal. Back down at 75 there for oil. If we do see some upside here, then there's a couple of areas I'm looking at selling at. Oil, we do have this resistance going through here. Let me just get rid of that zone since we don't really need it anymore. We've got our resistance up here at 110 and this lower swing high here as well. Any one of those areas, come back into, sell it back down. Depends how far you want to push the trade. You can look for 75 if you want to, one move. Obviously you got 94 here as a great target to have, and then you got 89, 84. Just depends how far you want to push the trade. If we do snap above that, then we'll look for sales at 110, and again same thing, back down to lows at 94 and expecting 75 to eventually come. How long that takes is obviously up to oil, but from a swing point of view, this one is warming up for some really nice sells. So yeah, if you're looking at oil from a kind of intra-week perspective, it does look like we can see some upside. So back into 103, look to sell it back down into 94. If we see a bit more upside into 110, again same thing, looking for sells to bring it back down. And if not, we break and retest, the drill, looking for the retest of that, get some confirmation, target at these lows here or that low there, whichever suits you, at 90, 84, and then all the way down to the 75. Obviously depending how far you want to push the trade, but only looking for shorts for oil. So more downside next week for oil.
Okay, right guys, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that, found that useful. Again, any pairs you want to see as a bonus pair in the future, leave it down in the comments and I'll be sure to add it to the list. If you guys did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, share, hit the bell. It does really help the channel out. If you have any questions, didn't understand anything, want to share your own bias, leave it down in the comments and I'll be sure to check it out. But guys, have a great weekend and I'll catch you all next week.